Whenever you're faced with the decision about whether or not you should talk to the cops, the answer is always no. There is no circumstance that I can think of or that any good criminal defense attorney should be able to come up with in which talking to the cops voluntarily is a good idea. It will almost always only end up hurting you, and it is so rare that it ever helps you that it's a risk you should never take. So one of the circumstances that happens frequently is a investigating officer, a detective, some law enforcement officer will call you, or maybe they'll stop by your house or your workplace and ask to speak with you. Let's say they call you. They may say, hey, this is Officer Smith. I'm investigating such and such incident that occurred. I was wondering if you'd be willing to just come down to the station so that we can talk about it real quick. And they'll always make it seem very casual. They'll always imply, or they might actually state outright, that you are not a suspect, that they're not investigating you as the potential criminal in this circumstance, but that they believe you might have some information that could help them in their investigation. They'll always make it seem like they're your friend and that cooperating with them won't hurt you, and in fact might even help get you off the hook for something that maybe they were thinking you did. It's a trick. You have to remember that the police are not your friend. They are, in fact, trained when they go through the police academy and they're going through detective school. They are trained in psychological and emotional manipulation. These are tactics that they use to put you at ease so that you lower your guard and volunteer information to them that they then can turn around, take out of context, and put back on you when they're trying to build a case against you. So in that circumstance that I just described, where law enforcement calls you, you answer the phone, they identify themselves as the investigating officer, and they're looking to talk to you, and they're just asking you to come down to the station. What will happen is, if you agree, you'll show up to the police station. They'll put you in a room with that officer, and the officer will right off the bat tell you,
by the way, I just want to let you know, you're free to leave any time. We're not keeping you here against your will. You're not under arrest. We just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Hopefully you can help us out.
The reason that they state explicitly right at the beginning that you are not under arrest and that you are free to leave at any time is because if they make it clear to you that you're not in custody, then they are not required by law to read you your Miranda rights. Miranda rights, everyone's heard of them. They're very popular in TV and movies. They get thrown around a lot, usually out of context. But Miranda rights, the right to have a lawyer present, the right to not self-incriminate yourself, etc., those are only required by law to be read to you by law enforcement after you've been arrested or you're otherwise in custody. So if they make it clear to you in the beginning of the conversation that you're not in custody, they're not under any obligation to read you those rights and inform you that you, in fact, don't have to talk to them and that you should hire a lawyer. So it's a sneaky way of them getting around that obligation to read you your rights. Right off the bat, that should tell you a lot about the law enforcement officer's opinion of whether or not you should keep your mouth shut or hire a lawyer. They're trying to get around informing you of those rights. You got to ask yourself why. Why would they not want me to know that I have the right to an attorney and to not self-incriminate myself? That's your first red flag. And it's because what they are planning on doing is asking you questions that don't on their face appear dangerous for you to answer, but that later on they can take out of context, or you may give them information that they can then use to connect the dots later on and come back and arrest you. So this is an incredibly dangerous situation for anyone to be under. It is much more complicated than it may appear. And you should always, always, always err on the side of caution whenever law enforcement is asking to speak with you. And the way to protect yourself, the only way to truly protect yourself, is by clamming up, demanding that you have your lawyer, ask for your lawyer, and then stop talking.